I had been teaching for 25 years at another private school, and I was also the vice principal there, and Fuli had been there for 20 years. And I think we did a variety of great things with students that helped thousands of students achieve. And it came a time where we wanted to venture out on our own to continue with some of the central tenets that we felt were important, and to basically expand from what was happening at that school. So in the bowels of the recession, 2009, we decided to venture out on our own, and we were able to secure an incredible staff, and with that, continue the passion that we had for education and to continue helping students. And I think we've been able to, so far, we're in our 11th year, is achieve that and want to continue to achieve that. Well, I got my master's in planning, and I walked into the planning office on the 19th floor at what was then called New City Hall. And there were just felt dividers everywhere and computer screens with that old green neon writing. And I did not hear a single sound when I went to see a friend of mine there. And I went, wow, there's simply no interaction there. I had gotten my teaching degree 2 years before, and I needed human interaction, and I thought that the planning department really did not offer it. So I ventured and actually followed my first true love, which was teaching and interacting with other individuals. I thought that I was better suited. I coached before, and I coached at a higher level. And in so doing, it sort of required an older athlete. And by older, I mean high school and university level. And I felt more comfortable at that age group, from teens onward. My favorite high school memory was probably making the senior football team when I was in grade 11 and having George Shepard, who I would consider my mentor at the time, just announcing it. He announced it in what was called the rifle range, which was the football dressing room down in the basement of Jarvis Collegiate. Well, I think it's not, education has changed not because of COVID per se. I think the online instruction was already in the mix already. And in so doing, it simply accelerated some of the methods. But in terms of education itself, the ability to connect with students, or as a student to connect with teachers, is paramount. It's been said that, to give you an idea, the university experience is transformational. You become a different person when you attend university. But I think the same thing could be said, for example, for high school. Online education, though, tends to be more transactional. The feel, the vibe just quite isn't there with online. And I feel that education, true education, really hasn't changed that much, other than right now, the content is no longer the end and be all. When I was in high school, it's can you name, 100 things? And now I think it's much better in that, what skills do you have that if you only know 25 or 50 or those same 100 things, what can you do with them? Rather than just knowing them for the sake of knowing them. Education was more of a trivia contest when I was in high school. Did you know this? Did you know this? Did you know this? Now it's, what are you going to do with the things that you know? And I think those skill sets are what we tend to concentrate on. So in terms of whether education is online more so because of COVID or sort of a more traditional in-class education, the changes that have occurred in what we basically value more. And currently, as it should be, it is skills and building up an arsenal of skills. So when you go off to university, when you graduate from university, that you have armed yourself with skills that you are able to make choices. Instead of saying, oh my God, look, there's this new job that wasn't around when I started university and I think it'd be great to follow it, that you have the choice to do so. And the best way of doing that is to have a skill set that can be applied to any type of vocation. So that's what we want to instill in our students, and we want to help them acquire. In all honesty, it's more difficult to do so online. As we said, many of these skill sets are aimed at transformational change, whereby you're instilled with a certain emotion, a certain feel for what you're doing. And online, as we said, tends to be a little more transactional, where it's give me what you want me to get. But certain skill sets are actually difficult to be able to master online versus live. There are a variety of teachers that influence me. Mr. Derry, who was my geography teacher for a couple of years, he's the reason when I went to university I pursued geography and economics, because of him. Mr. Shepherd, George Shep as he was known, really looked at being able to drive you, to instill a work ethic in you, to help you be passionate of whatever you were doing. So it wasn't, he was just head of phys ed and my football coach, and he was also my track coach when I was in grade 9 and 10. I was 13 years old in grade 9. And he was one of the first people that actually was able to push the right buttons. So he was able to have a lasting impact on me. Education is important because it truly is the only thing that allows you to break down barriers. I came from a single parent family. You could even, technically my mom was on welfare growing up, when I was growing up. So the only way you could sort of break out of that I saw, to do it in an honorable way, was through education. And it's worked out for me. Yes, very much so. Very, very much so. By basically, on a daily basis, telling me that I better do well in school, I better learn how to learn, because it's the only way I'm going to be able to maximize whatever potential I have. So it really was a daily reminder from her as to the importance of education. Through my education career, there are two tenets that I abide by, and I've tried to sort of bring and instill in the school. And those two tenets are, one, that true learning occurs when you're pushed beyond your comfort zone. If you're nice and comfortable in the womb, it's great, but you're not going to extend yourself, you're not going to grow as a person. So the idea is that we want to say to our students, there's more out there, and extend them beyond what they feel that they're capable of. A big part of that, though, in education is, it's kind of weird to have to say this, but you have to be comfortable with the people that are pushing you beyond your comfort zone. Meaning that if students see the pushing in a negative way, if they do not have confidence or trust in their teachers, then they're going to see that as my teacher's picking on me, nagging, bitching, whining, prodding. and it's going to become a negative experience. But if they feel sincerely that their teachers are there to help them and that they have confidence in their abilities, then the students will push themselves beyond their comfort zone and they will achieve things that they never thought possible. So that's an important aspect. The other aspect is that as human beings, I truly believe there's only one thing that we can control. We cannot control our innate abilities. We cannot control circumstance, but we can control our level of work ethic. And that becomes in itself a paramount skill. In essence, the credo is that your work ethic should always exceed your talent and your intellect. Well, one, I'm passionate about teaching. I feel that the day-to-day connection is important. It lends greater street cred, if you want to call it that, to a principal who is in the classroom on a daily basis, and his or her students see that they are, going forward, teaching, structuring lessons. So it provides them with greater street cred. What it also does, to use the term yet again, street cred, it also provides it for the other staff members. So when that principal says to another staff member, you know what? This is what I suggest you do. This is why I suggest it. It's not some person supposedly far removed from the day-to-day, we'll call it grind of the classroom. So my ability to teach on a daily basis, to go through the marking, to go through the test preparation, to go through the exam prep, to go through the day-to-day things that my staff go through is very important in being able to reach out to them, and they know that when I say something to them that I'm going through the exact same things that they are on a daily basis. There is a much greater sense of empathy there. And they basically know that I'm just like them. That I do the exact same things, my concerns are the same, I have to put in the effort that they do into their classes each and every day. And I think that's important for the staff to realize that, because it does lend then what I say to them, not just coming from a principal, but also from a peer. Well, COVID was on the radar in Canada, the beginning sort of end of December, but really the first few weeks of January. And it was some far off, disease in China at the time, and people didn't know that much about it. And then as we started getting into February, and by mid-February, you could actually see the pandemic spreading, although at that time, it was still not classified as a pandemic by WHO. Near the beginning of March, as we were actually, and students were getting kind of antsy for March break, all of a sudden it started spreading. It started spreading beyond China, Iran, Italy, Spain. Even at that time, we're getting hard hit. And there were cases of it, obviously, in Canada and the United States. And then March break occurred, which actually was at a great time for us, because what it basically did, we have 2 weeks, it gave us added time to be able to plan for this. We were already formulating a pandemic plan and basically a continuity, an academic continuity plan to say, okay, given the circumstances, how would our education continue? We were very fortunate to be able to look at a variety of other plans, whether there were universities, whether there were high schools. We put together a plan that allowed us not to miss a beat. School started again for us after March break, Monday, March the 23rd. We are already formulated how we were going to do it. Our teachers were all on board. So was our student body. And in fact, that first Monday back, we actually started synchronous classes already. And we have not missed a beat since then. So every one of our students got synchronous instruction from March the 23rd. The actual feeling in the classroom. The ability, although you can look into your students' eyes, online, but a big part of us and what we do is the ability to gauge the feel of the room and to almost say, you know what, maybe we need another example of how to factor a quadratic. Without singling out anyone, you can sort of read what's going on. Have your students understood it? Do they need a little more? That is difficult to be able to do online, even in a synchronous environment. So what is it like to work with my family? Well, the thing is, I work on the 5th floor. They basically are working on the 2nd floor. My office is on the 5th. My classroom is on the 5th. I've been actually working with my wife for 31 years in education. The first 5, she was not involved, but since then, I can honestly say, other than staff meeting lunches, I don't think I've had lunch with her more than 10 times. So the idea is that, we see each other in the mornings, we debrief after school on a daily basis, but during the school day, we each have our own little areas, fiefdoms if you want to call them, and there's actually not that much interaction between us other than dealing with certain issues that might arise. Well, I talk to people that I know, psychiatrists, psychologists, neurosurgeons, and one of the things that kept on coming up was that the teenage brain does not work the same way, basically pre-adolescence and post-adolescence. And I asked them, well, what do you mean by that? And they said that a big part, and I noticed it in teaching, that as students got into their teen years, anytime they had the ability to have a spare, it wasn't the last period of the day, but rather it was the first period of the day. So I continued asking questions, probing, trying to figure out what that really meant. And what it really came down to was that before you hit your teenage years, you can go to bed at 8, 9, 10 o'clock. In your teenage years, you might want to go to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock, but for some reason, there's a rewiring in your brain that does not allow you to do that. And now you're up until 11, 12, 1 o'clock. So we felt that, can we address that nuance in the teenage brain? And we felt that if we started at 10 o'clock, that would give the teenage brain on a daily basis time to actually wake up. So in your first period, you truly are engaged. Now, there was something that I was sort of hesitant about, and because the real world doesn't start at 10 o'clock. So I kept on saying, well, aren't we then basically, giving our students a path that is going to doom them to failure in the real world? And many of the neurologists said, no, you're not understanding that when you hit your early 20s, the rewiring occurs again. So there's a rewiring that now all of a sudden you're back to the norm. You're able to fall asleep at 10 o'clock if you wish to do so. So in fact, what we've been able to do then is simply create, I think, a much needed accommodation during the teen years. Our staff. without a doubt. Well, we have hand-selected the staff. Many of the individuals I've worked with before, or they've come to us through recommendations of people that I trust, and they are of like mind in terms of being passionate about teaching, holding students accountable. Now, each one brings their personality to the table, and the way I can best describe it is that we do not want our teachers to, be cookie cutter teachers. You bring your personality into the mix. We value that. At the same time, then if we were a rowing team, to give you an example, and one of the rowers had a hitch in his or her stroke, and it did not bother the other people in the team, why would I say to them, no, I want you to change your style? That's not us. If it works for you and it works for your students, you keep that style. As long as you're working within the broad framework of the Ministry of Education and our basically mission statement, you basically put yourself into that. And our teachers are great at being able to do that. And if we have the right passionate individuals, then our students will see that, and they have, and they will actually, based on the modeling, the role modeling of that our students will want to emulate and achieve. Well, it's really a three-prong approach. Approach number one, school opens as, usual. You're in your classrooms and teaching continues to go the way it's traditionally done. That's one. The other extreme is that teaching will be online. So we feel that asynchronous instruction is not necessarily for our students. So whatever we do will have a major synchronous component where our students see their teachers, they see their classmates in an interactive setting on a daily basis. Those are the two sort of extremes. Where it's going to get dicey is the middle. And in the middle, there are a multitude of things that could happen. One is we could start in the classroom, and then there is a resurgent second wave, which is so large that all of a sudden shutdowns, lockdowns start occurring again. And again, we've shown that we can transition into synchronous online learning. So that's in there. Or the other is that we have to start synchronous online learning and then transition back into the classroom. So we're looking at the whole gambit of possibilities. It is uncertain what's going to be happening in September. The only thing that I can say is certain that there will be synchronous instruction, it will be meaningful instruction, and we will be preparing our students for whatever lies ahead, both in education and for their mental well-being.